Enrique, do you see me?
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So just a heads up, for our consultations or just the Zoom calls, we record them. So then if you forget anything, you can watch your video again, or if someone has a similar interest, they can watch this.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but how's Bogie been?
He's good. I just want to let you know, I think Dana's gonna call in, my wife. So if you hear her, that's her. But anyways, yeah, he's been really, really, really good lately. Unfortunately though, like a week or two back, he got really sick.
Yeah.
Um, for like 3 or 4 days, and he didn't eat or anything. So we've did a whole bunch of tests on him and stuff like that. They thought it was like Addison's disease, possibly, which is just where the body's not producing enough steroids for like the organs to function. So he was on steroids for a little bit, um, but he seems to be back. You saw him at daycare probably a couple days ago, so he seems to be back 100% and everything. So we're just weaning him off the steroids now, and yeah, he's on kind of a full turn circle, and he's really good. We took him to the beach this weekend, did like some off leash stuff just to kind of do recall and stuff like that. And he was really good. I'm kind of nicknaming him like a Velcro dog. He doesn't like want to leave your side pretty much. So yeah, really good.
Good. How's the what is it? How's the your walks like when he sees like I know you were having an issue with like the other dogs. Like how's that been?
Yeah, so he is definitely better. I think it took him 2 times for that prong collar to kind of hit, to realize like, okay, I don't need, if I react, something's gonna like, it's not gonna be comfortable. So he's pretty good on walks with ignoring other dogs. The only thing he just always does is he always looks behind us, like, because we'll go on the 606 and there's runners and stuff like that. So he's just like constantly looking behind us. So I think it's like it's just a threat kind of protection thing, is my guess.
Mm.
So that does kind of get just annoying. It's not like a big thing. I just kind of try to put him in front of me and give him a treat, but he constantly does it. He will get he's still a little anxious on walks, but not like as he was when he was a puppy. So that's it. He does pull a little bit. But I mean, like, nothing that's terrible.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Where he's just kind of like, it looks like he's like paranoid, like too paranoid, like you're almost like wanting to tell him, hey, buddy, there's nothing going on here. Just for you.
Exactly.
That's good. And then cool. And then everything's good in the home and everything. He's pretty much settled in the home.
Yeah. No biting, or like there's no biting of furniture. I mean, he does a little like kind of love. It seems like love bites in the morning. Just kind of when I give him, like, he's like in between like a kiss and it's kind of a nip kind of thing, I think is what it is. But it's nothing like bad. But no, I mean, he's really respective of the parts of the house that we don't want him to go to. And like I said, I think it really helps that he's like that Velcro type of dog, that he always just wants to be by us. So if we're not in the room, if we leave a room, he goes to that room. So he's good with that, and he just always wants to constantly play ball. As you know, his drive instinct, his prey instinct is like really, really high. So he loves playing fetch and stuff like that. So
Alrighty. So with next steps of training and everything, um, you're interested in having him advance to like off leash stuff, more reliable, and with also the advancement to the new tools, we can kind of what is it? Kind of let him know to not be so worrisome of like his environment or his surroundings, or like having him become too paranoid there.
yeah.
Wrong collar. It sounds like it's good for control and everything, but it sounds like it's not really too concerning enough to the point where if you bring him pressure to the up to your side, if he's looking back and he just keeps looking behind him, like after you keep yanking him forward, then that's telling me that prong collar isn't really that concerning, because he's still worried about what's going on behind him. And then with the e-collar as well, you can also get the off-leash stuff, off-leash recall, and it'll be, 100% every single time he's off leash. You have that tool. It's going to work 100% of the time. So it's almost like you always have some sort of backup. If he is off leash, you have that tool there. Is there any other commands you're interested in him either advancing as well? Like, obviously your recon the heel, or anything else you see yourself doing in Bogie, where you want to work on, or any other goals?
I just think the ultimate goal, is just be able to be really comfortable with him taking him to a park, and just being able to play ball and still having control over him. One thing I noticed when we were at the beach, when we were doing recall, we were like 30, 40 feet away from each other, my wife and I, and then we'd start running around. I can kind of see him just like get super overstimulated, and that's what makes me nervous. Like he gets so overstimulated, he's just like, screw it, I'm gonna like run around or something like that. So that's why we were trying to control that. So like that's kind of like another thing. I just always want to make sure that like I'm able to be like, all right, let's calm it down, let's get back focused, or whatever we need to do. Of course, we can have our fun and all that stuff, but let's make sure we can figure out ways to like turn it off and continue on, not worry about that. So that's just like the thing for me, especially just living in the city, is just like going to like Oz Park or going to the parks near us, and just I see a lot of other dogs that I can tell that sometimes he's pretty good at just kind of ignoring them, but it's the other dogs I always worry about too, that like launch at him or stuff like that. So just keeping his reactions close and making sure he's calm with that, I think, is another thing.
How old is he again?
What's today? Yesterday, he was 5 months.
5 months. Got it. Okay. And then how big is he going to get about?
So his dad was like 90, 93 pounds. His mom was around 80, 85 pounds. So somewhere in between that, hopefully. And I think he was like, I don't know if it means anything, but I think he was the bigger one of the two male puppies that we picked from the litter. So he should be big. I mean, he lost a lot of weight when he was sick. He lost like 5 pounds or something like that. So he's finally gained it all back. He's around 40 right now. So
yeah, the last time I saw him, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty healthy and everything.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So and then you were still wanting to do the board and train program, correct? Again.
Yeah, well, we were trying to figure out the best course and what you think. We were coming up on like a vacation, and I know we had chatted for his first round, that around the e-collar training, if that's something you want to do, that this would be a good age to do it at. And it kind of seems like it would be a little bit more, I don't know, behaviorally long lasting for this age, right? So that was kind of our thought. Maybe if we can time it up with us going out of town, to be like a way to have him have somewhere to stay, and then also kind of get the training we want him to have. So it was just kind of like a little advantage for us. We just weren't sure if it was necessary or not to do the board and train. If it is, that's why we wanted to hear your thoughts, I think.
Cool. All right. So before we start the programs and everything, with the e-collar and everything, the brand we use is called Dogtra. Dogtra has been used by Jesse for more than half his career. He's tried other brands, and this is the best. This is the brand that has gotten like the best results, the most successes with the dogs. Dogtra has many models. He'll most likely be getting like the big boy collar, just because we're expecting him to be 80 to 90 pounds, or maybe even bigger, but around that range. So we're gonna have him on that big boy collar now, so that you don't have to like buy one appropriate to his size and then buy another one when he's older up, because it'll be fine. We usually do 6 months. We've done 5 months, we've done 4 months, and we can do young as 3 months. The reason why we don't really do 3 months is because owners have a hard time, or people have a hard time seeing a 3-month-old puppy with a big old box on their neck. So like later on, as when we start to do it, it's also the brain has developed enough to understand this sort of pressure. So when we're working with 3-month-old puppies or 4-month-old puppies with e-collar, we're doing a lot of food stuff, taking it very slow. But we also start with prong collar with them. So when I think we had a Doberman, her name is Azula. She came for 4 weeks, and she was like 3 months or 4 months old. So first week was prong collar. The next 3 weeks were just e-collar, and then it was like a very smooth transition. So since Bogie does have some prong collar, he's trained with the prong collar. I imagine once we start e-collar, it's going to be very smooth for him, because it's going to be very similar, like the concepts and like the ideas of like how, you know, pressure turns on, pressure turns off, like that. But now we're replacing that pressure from prong with the e-collar. So it's going to be it should be very smooth for Bogie to kind of get the hang of it. A lot of times, you know, people say the e-collar is like a shock collar, or you're electrocuting your dog. All that's like old school talk. It's usually called e-collar or remote collar training. Shocking, it doesn't shock the dog. It's electric, yes, but it's not electricity flowing to the dog's body. It's just a collar with 2 contact points. Whatever those 2 contact points are touching is what it's contracting. The feeling is exactly the feeling of like a mini TENS unit. You know what a TENS unit is? Like they use that physical therapy and like chiropractors use to contract. That same feeling is how an e-collar feels. So I think we had one client who was a little paranoid about the feeling of the e-collar, but she was a physical therapist. And once we explained to her that it's the same thing, and once she felt it, she's like, oh, okay, I'm all good now. I know what it is now. And then she seemed very more kind of relaxed about it, because now she knows what it feels like. It's waterproof. You get a mile-long range, so you get that distance with Bogie. It has the stimulation, which is like the, you know, what we'll be using to train Bogie, and it also has a vibration function. We don't use a vibration for training. We just use it to see if the collar is on. The reason why we don't use vibrate is because the vibration tone has a single like feeling. It's just, you can't really increase the vibrate or decrease. It's just that. So sometimes dogs get surprised or thrown off or get very flighty when they feel it, or sometimes dogs just ignore it because it doesn't mean anything to them. On the remote for dog chalk, you get 127 levels of stimulation in increments of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 127. You might see that there's other brands out there that maybe have 8 levels or just 10. It's not that we have like 100 more levels. It's that 8 or 10, whatever the max is the same power as our 127. So they're the same, but we just have so many more numbers to be more specific to Bogie, like his personality, you know, with the breed, with the scenario we're in, and everything like that. Because as you can imagine, with the 8-leveled e-collar, if 5, right, is making Bogie yelp, it's too much power. But then 4, he's not listening. Well, then which one are you going to have? You're stuck there. Versus for the dog show brand, you have all those numbers. You can be very specific. If, you know, 50 is too high, 40 is too low, 45, 43, 46, something like that, to find the very specific number that Bogie is most comfortable with and is most concerning, so that he's quickly responding to that level. Okay. I don't know what Bogie's level is going to be. It's never really possible to tell what a dog's working number is. You know, we've had big dogs, Great Danes, be on low numbers or even like a low model, or we've had, you know, little guys like Chihuahuas have to be on the big boy collar because the Chihuahua would override the e-collar and wouldn't care. Like you'll literally see on maximum power, just like the shoulder twitching, and the Chihuahua's just like, I don't care, right? And then we need to upgrade the models because we need to create some sort of concern to get into the dog's head. So personality doesn't really play a part into the number or breed or anything like that. It's just mostly we have to take into account for what's the behavior we're trying to address and how big is the dog going to be, and and the breed does play into it of like, you know, is it a bully breed? Because you can have a Frenchie who's like they're very small dogs, and based on weight they would get a certain e-collar, but since they're a bully breed, they technically need the big boy or big girl collar because of the breed and how intense they can be. So that's why we always tell the clients, hey, you're gonna need to get this collar. And then they'll see like the description, like, oh, if you want a mile-long distance, but they're thinking, I don't need a mile-long distance, but it's not about that. It's because it gives you more power. So that's why we need to get the collar. We sell them here, so you have that option to purchase through us, or if you want to order it yourself, you can do that. I'll have to see, because I know we're out of stock of the black edition right now, so I have to see when we get a new round here. So you might need to order it yourselves. We'll let you know after the consultation. Yeah. So with the e-collar, the reason why we get so much success with this is because it's like a physical tool. So like your prong collar, right? It's giving physicality to Bogie, and he's receiving that physicality, but it's his language, right? Dogs are physical animals. He understands where it's coming from and how to turn it on, how to turn it off. Same thing with the e-collar. It's still physical, but now we can make it very uncomfortable. So sometimes when you know, we do our consultations and a client goes, I tried prong collar already, my dog just ignores it, doesn't care. At first she cared, but now she doesn't care. And we'll hear that a lot from, like, you know, our golden retrievers or Labradors. They tend to override prong collar because they're so happy-go-lucky. They don't really understand it or perceive threat. And then our bully breeds as well can sometimes override the prong collar. It's just because, let's say, you know, as we're seeing, Bogie is so concerned about what's going on behind him that you're giving, you know, your yanks and then you're pulling and you're doing all this stuff, but he's not caring. So that means, you know, his level of concern for his surrounding is at like an 8 or like a 7, but your strongest pressure or the strongest prong collar yank you can give is only a 5. Then you're never going to override that concern for him. Versus e-collar, we have all these levels, right? On 127, it's uncomfortable, yes, but it's never going to physically or mentally damage Bogie. He's still going to be the goofy puppy he is. The 127 will never match the power of an actual dog bite, right? A dog bite is much more stronger and I guess traumatizing for dogs than the e-collar will ever be. We've never seen dogs lose their personality. We've never seen dogs, you know, if Bogie's always wanting to play with dogs on his walks, and we're addressing that, we've never seen the play or want to play with other dogs dip or go away. Same thing with humans. They're still going to be same personality. We've never seen that happen in any of our dogs here. They're still going to be Bogie. Do you have any questions so far? And then also your wife's here as well, so if you have any questions as well.
Dana? I don't know if her thing's working.
What? No, I'm on. I've just been listening. Okay. It's nice to meet you. I'm sorry I missed being able to come pick up Bogie and meet you in person.
No worries.
Stuck at work.
Yeah, no worries.
This all sounds great. All those things that Zach talked about before are all true. And that's kind of what we've noticed on walks too, is that he'll want to pull the leash to go over and continue saying hi to people. And so we want to work on that. The other thing I just wanted to ask you about, not e-collar related, and I don't know if Zach mentioned it at the beginning of the call, is we've noticed when we feed Bogie, he's been on steroids, so he's definitely been hungrier, but he's like, you know, we have him wait, but he's like yelping and running to the food bowl. And I just want to make sure that doesn't sound like he's becoming food aggressive or anything like that. I mean, he doesn't like, it's not like I've tried to pull his food away and he's acted territorial about it. It just seems like he's getting more and more obsessed with food, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the other day he literally yelled, yeah. So he's in his place this entire time I make his bowl. You know, it takes me a couple of minutes, and then I wait for him to give him a release command. And when I give him that release command, he's just like, he literally like let out a giant like yelp. Like I haven't had any food in like a week, you know.
Got it. Okay.
It's funny, but it's like,
yeah, well, you know, I think it's just that he has an intense food drive, and that the yelping sounds like it's just frustration that he's trying to get to his food. Once he does get to his food, does he ever show any, like, you know, does he growl at you guys, or does he ever show any aggression?
No, just scarfs it down in like 2 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, never. And even if I like come close to him to like refill his water bowl, he just ignores me. But it was just It's just he just seems very food obsessed all of a sudden.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I understand the concern is like, okay, if he's so obsessed with it, what if someone tries to take it? Or what if something, you know, like, is this going to get worse?
Yeah.
And it most
And
likely.
that was, sorry, go ahead.
It's possible. It's possible that he could be, you know, because he wasn't, you know, I don't remember him always being this obsessed with food where he's like being vocal about it. But maybe, you know, obviously it's obsession isn't healthy. So even if it's for food, still not a healthy response or a way to be about something. Same thing with balls, where like, you know, if you're just playing fetch and that's all you're doing, you're just throwing the ball, and then he's showing obsession with the ball. He's not really getting any like mental exercise. He's just moving. He's not really thinking. It's not a healthy structural way to kind of exercise a dog. So you definitely do. Okay. We can definitely add some sort of more structure, and the e-collar can be able to calm him down, right? Because a lot of times, you know, the typical pet owner is like saying, no, like sit, or they're pulling the dog away. And it's just going to be aggravating or increasing the frustration more for Bogie. Versus e-collar. E-collar is non-confrontational. There's no yelling, there's no screaming. All you're doing is pressing a button, and it's up to him to learn how to turn that off and for him to kind of settle down. So with the e-collar, if he's so frustrated with food, maybe he's like at a 10 when he sees food, you're able to override, right, the obsession there and kind of have him be a clear mind, and then give the food in a more structural like way for him. That's more healthy, a healthier way to practice like feeding for him. So that's definitely something we can cover. So to answer your question, yeah, it can probably turn to resource guarding. So that's something you're definitely going to want to address as soon as possible.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And similarly, since you brought up balls, he does the same kind of obsessive thing with a ball. Like if we are playing with him and we take the ball away, then he kind of like sits and stares at the ball wherever it is and whines, and he doesn't seem to be able to turn that off either. Mm-hmm. And kind of going, I think I've seen in your training videos where you've done some of the e-collar training where you work with him on the flirt pull, like I'll pull that out for him sometimes, and he kind of goes into like obsessive play drive mode, and we can't like snap him out of it. So it seems like once he gets fixated on something, he does become a little bit obsessive with whatever it is at the moment.
Yes. So we'll definitely cover that. If he does the board and train, we'll do that, as we do that with like if we know a puppy has good prey drive, we like to kind of include the obedience and the e-collar with the prey drive. So there's another good video. It's on our Instagram, I believe. You'll have to scroll like till last year. It's with that Doberman Azul I was talking about. She was 3 months old in that video, and Jesse's playing with the flirt pole, but they have e-collar already started. So then she's in a down, and he's teasing her, and then it's break, and then she goes and gets it. So we'll start to, as we go for like that, you know, as we're teaching the foundation of the commands, once everything's consistent with just the e-collar and the training alone, then we can start to include balls and the flirt pole again, and like the food and everything else, so that he's just continuing to practice that here. So then it should be easy for him to continue it at home once we kind of teach you how first, you know, the training works, and then when you're comfortable with the e-collar itself and then just how the commands work, then you can start including your ball sessions, and as well as the any other activities that he becomes really obsessed with.
Okay, perfect. And the other question I had that's sort of on the obedience side, as he's getting older, we've noticed like the same kind of thing. Like if he wants to play and we're saying, no, it's not playtime, like sometimes that's when he, you know, becomes a little bit defiant, like, well, I'm going to go back downstairs and get my ball anyway because I want to, which he's getting older. He's also getting bigger and he's jumping more. And it usually feels like a way to just say hello, but we obviously want to try and nip that in the bud, because when he's almost 100 pounds, that just won't be great. And then he started to get a little bit louder with barking.
Yeah, he's got.
And
I remember when he was here. I think there was a noise outside, and he was small. And he had this. He already has like a big boy bark. It was crazy. We were like, "Who was that?" And this little Bogie and his kennel, like. But no, I know that bark.
Yeah, and we just can't get him to turn it off, right? So if he hears something in the street, he'll just start barking, and it's like we'll try and say like it's okay, stop, and he'll just keep going. And so we just want to be able, we appreciate if he hears a noise to like alert us, but we want to be able to get to the point where if we say things are okay or stop, that he'll learn to kind of stop. And I don't know if that's possible, but it would just be good to be able to turn it off, I guess, in that sense too.
Got it. Okay. So a few things. So I'll kind of cover what's happening here. So it sounds like he's just getting he's a little overstimulated. So with the alertness and barking, I'll talk about that later as well. Once I kind of talk about how we'll add the e-cloud to Bogie's life. And let me take a note. So you were saying, so in the home, like, is there a specific time where he is becoming, they call it like what do they call it again?
Which hour?
The puppy, like they call it zoomies, but they call it something else.
Like his bewitching hour, kind of?
Yes, yes, that's it. Is there like a specific time he's doing this, or is this just like all the time in the home?
All the time, yeah.
All the time, got it. Okay.
Yeah, but like, it's small. It's definitely small things. Like if we're having like Friday nights, Dan and I like to sit out in our living room and just have like a cocktail and kind of just regress into the weekend. And he's sitting there with us, and a car door outside closes. He's like barking. He's like not like a big bark, but like a wolf. And then he'll start like being like something's out there. He's thinking about it and he's moving around, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then sometimes even when I'm just like walking down the stairs or I'm like coming up from a shower or something like that, he'll like kind of just be like, woof, woof, who are you? Kind of thing. And like, oh, it's dad, So it's those things too.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to talk about this first, and then it will kind of make sense as I go along. So for Bogie, what we'll be teaching him first is our heal command. Now, this version is walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. So if I take 5 steps to Bogie, Bogie should take 5 steps. If I take 10, he takes 10. When it comes to a stop, he should automatically sit with no words said, with his shoulder parallel to my leg with a loose leash in any environment. We're teaching this with the e-collar for a few reasons, and this is the first thing we teach. He is understanding how the e-collar works. So before we dive into like the ball stuff, the jumping, the barking, all these things, we need to first have him understand what the e-collar is first to begin with. Before, because a lot of times clients would think, oh, e-collars, you just put it on maximum and then you just blast a dog when they do something bad. That's incorrect. He needs to understand what it is first before we do those, before we start to disagree with behaviors he's doing. So that's why we teach heal. Another reason why we're teaching heal is because this is going to address your walks, and it's also might address things in the home. So the reason why is because being in this position always on your walks, and he's not allowed to turn around, he's not allowed to break, he can't be like an inch away, forward, back, left, or on your other side. It's just in this one spot and he's here. So why it's going to be effective for most of like these issues you're having is because heal is going to be giving him a lot of mental exercise. Right? It is mentally draining to be focused and to keep that shoulder parallel with your legs. So with the remote, we can be at a level that's concerning for him, right? That if you cross me or if you do something else, or you're going to get corrected, right? Pressure will turn on, pressure will turn off once you're here next to me, right? So for overstimulated dogs, as they're walking, they're not really, they're not really thinking. They're just doing this walk, and they're just walking forward. versus this way, they're putting a lot of focus into it, so that so much focus is put into this that technically nothing else should matter, right? Because of the discipline we're applying behind the heel. That's why that's what makes it structured, and it's concerning for Bogie. So the idea is we teach him heel, and then we see what it fixes overall. Maybe we start to, because sometimes we'll notice Bogie is in a like not really passive in his kennel. Sometimes he's ready to play. Maybe we start to train him with the e-collar, and we start to see his he starts to calm down. Right, that's what happens a lot with these overstimulated dogs, is that they learn how to settle because they just went for a 15-minute walk that is way more tiring than an hour and a half long walk, free roaming, doing whatever you want. Does that make sense? So maybe we start to see changes, and maybe you start to notice that in the home, he's more calm, he's more relaxed because he is getting tired from your walks. So that's what I would want to do first, is just teach him the heel, teach him to understand the e-collar, see what it fixes. Maybe it's like he's a lot more calmer in the home, but when it's nighttime and he's more on edge, so we need to address this. Or maybe it's the food is good, the ball is good, but now he's like obsessed with squirrels for some reason. We'll teach you how to address that. So that's how usually we go about it for like our programs, is like we teach this. What is a fix? For like, that's more for like our in-persons. Board and train, obviously, he's learning heel, stay, sit down, come, place, all those 6 commands with the e-collar. We'll be taking him training walks to Home Depot as we were before. His Home Depot walks with the prong collar, he was very, not very, he would get distracted here and there. So we'll see how it looks with e-collar. We'll have more control over him, and then the commands would kind of be more immediate instead of like using the prong to pull up, kind of helping him all the time for him to kind of do the behaviors we're wanting. For the barking out the window, like you said, it's nice to have him be like a security. You know, someone's out there, you see him, but then there's going to be a point where like, okay, buddy, you know, I know someone's there. Can you settle down? You can absolutely do that. There's 2 ways to go about it. You can either control it, which sounds like that's what you're wanting, just control. And there's also elimination. Eliminating would be no barking at all, even if someone's outside. That's more for like people who like live in like the apartments, who have neighbors, and they can't have any noises happening, because then they'll get a noise complaint, and then it's a whole bigger deal. But if you're wanting to control it, we can absolutely do it with the e-collar. The difference between control and elimination, how you would go about it, is that he's barking. You would add a word like enough, and then you apply the correction. If you're eliminating it, it'll be he's barking, no warning, no words, just a correction. So then he's learning that, okay, if I bark, this just happens immediately, so I better not bark. Versus controlling, I'm barking, I hear mom say enough, whatever, I'll continue barking, I get corrected. So now I can bark until I hear the word enough. Same thing goes for jumping. Right? If we're trying to control jumping, maybe you only want to jump on you on cue, or maybe you just want to eliminate it. You wouldn't say anything. You wouldn't say off, leave it, or no, or anything. It'd just be, you're going to put your paws on this person. You're going to get corrected right away. No warning. Just don't do that. So we'll be doing a lot of that. And just to kind of give you an understanding of how like behaviors, how to address those types of behaviors, is that if you want to still keep it there with you, or do you just want to completely eliminate it? So things like that. The barking in the home is also from overstimulation. So like, you know, we'll hear owners say, I take my dog for like 3 walks a day, treadmill time, fetch, all these different activities, and my dog still has energy. It's just because, again, they're not getting that mental exercise outside the home, and they need more of a structured and more of a disciplined. In other words, it's like a job. You're giving Bogie a job to do on your walks, which then becomes exhausting for him. So then he should be more tired when he goes home from this type of walk. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And we've been trying to figure out, like, how do we make him feel like he has a job so that he's burning that mental energy. So that sounds great.
Yes. Was there something else he said? Oh, the e-collar is also going to give you more of so right now he has all the commands. He has like the foundation. The e-collar is just going to make those commands like more important to him. So for like the place command, you'll have a tool, right? Maybe he's tethered on the place. You have your bull. He's like eyeing it, maybe salivating. You can correct that as well to let him know that, you know, don't become too obsessed with it. And or maybe we teach him place all over again at the e-collar, and maybe he doesn't do that anymore because now he knows when he's not in place, he's not supposed to bark, whine, or anything. Because like I don't know if you saw any dogs on place when you came for your follow-up. They were all passive. They're all resting. Whether it's time for dinner or their owners are here or the phone's ringing, they're still to be in that resting state. If not, we have our e-collars to correct and then bring them back down to like a 1 or a 0 on their energy level scale. So that's going to help you as well when you're getting him ready for the food stuff. So any other questions so far?
I think I'm good with everything, Dana.
Yeah, I think that all sounds good. I think that the heel and kind of getting him on the recall and the e-collar all sounds like a great next step for him.
Yeah, it's interesting because like when he's at place too, that I noticed, because I try to do stay commands with him and just try to go to the next room and have him like lose eye contact. When he's not on place, he'll move. So if he's just like in the kitchen and I do stay, he'll move. But when I have him on his bed where his place is, like he won't move. So it's really interesting. Like, you know, can't do that. I can only do it when he's on his place.
Got it. And then we'll go ahead and advance that as well. So if you say stay, you leave the room, you should continue to stay.
Right.
It's just that because right now, there's no way to address it from that distance right now. And the worst thing that happens if he breaks a stay is that he doesn't get a food or a treat or anything. So.
Yeah, I think that's what he's figured out.
Were you gonna say something, Dana?
I think I was, but I don't remember what it was now. It'll come back to me. Oh, I remember. Is it just, are you thinking like a 2-week board and train is the right amount of time for sort of the next step?
Yeah, I think a 2-week would be good. So you'll still get your introduction videos with the heel, stay, sit down, come place. You're gonna see how he's taking the e-collar for the first time. Same thing, it's gonna be Elias teaching him. And then after Elias teaches him, we're going to be kind of passing him off to the other handlers throughout the day to get him those repetitions. And then the second week video, you're gonna get a second video. We're gonna be transferring all those commands, all those 6 commands to the long leash phase where we're giving him 30 feet now to make mistakes. So that's gonna be like it's a phase you want to work with if you want him to be off leash. The difference between the 3-week and the 4-week board and train is that he's just getting more repetitions and there's going to be more, it's going to be more reliable in a way. It's still going to be reliable in the 2-week board and train. It's just going to be, obviously, he's with us for more time and we're going to be teaching him a little bit more commands and putting him under different situations. So the 3-week board and train program, you're going to get a 3rd week video and we're going to be teaching him, or we're going to be going over all the commands in a play group setting. And you're going to get that video as well of how does he handle, you know, maybe he's in the middle of play and we do a recall. Like how does he do that? How do we handle like that if there's like a dog messing around with him, or, you know, what to do in those situations to push him for more. So you'll see in the video, we're going to be doing recall, heel, stay, sit down, and place in the playpen. The 4th week video, you'll get, if you do the 4-week board and train program, you'll get a video where we take Bogie to Horner Park or Oz Park, and we're kind of showing you how the obedience, you know, the final picture. We touch a little bit on off-leash stuff as well if the dog is up to that level. And then you're kind of seeing how the obedience functions in a park setting where it's busy and like a, you know, an outside environment. So you're getting that video as well. What I'm hearing and everything from Bogie, it sounds like the 2-week board train would be good. Again, the 3-week and the 4-week are just there if you want more control, you want us to do more stuff with him and kind of get you to off leash a little faster. Because for the in-person programs, there's 6, 9, and 3, 6, 9, 12. 3 weeks of your time is 1 week of ours. So we get it done faster. So those are some pros, is that it's just, you know, we know what we're doing, so it's just going to happen faster. Some cons for the board and train program. At first, the training is going to be tied to me and Elias, Amanda, Fabian. It's going to be tied to the trainers here at first in our facility. Now, another wonderful thing about e-collar, because sometimes owners have a concern of, you know, if we do a board and train program, you know, will the dog only listen when the trainer's here, and, you know, all that stuff. Technically won't happen with e-collar, right? Because let's say in the videos, Elias is working with Bogie, and Elias finds out that Bogie's working number is 20, right? When Elias presses the button on 20 and Zach presses the button on 20, it's still 20, right? So there's no like, well, she's stronger than him, or he's more taller or bigger, and then he has more control, or he's more dominating, or whatever it is. It's 20 is 20 for everyone. So like if you end up getting a dog walker, or maybe you have, you know, a family member wants to walk Bogie, you teach him a little bit about the e-collar, and then it's just going to be very smooth. You wouldn't have to reteach everything again. He's not going to start all over when he's handing it to someone else. It should just flow right in. So those are explanations of the board and train program. With the 2-week board and train program, you get 4 hours of follow-up lessons, and I think plus whatever you have left from the puppy board and train, I believe. So then you get,
so 6, because we just had one right after.
yeah, I think
no real reason to ever use them. So I mean, like after his puppy board and train.
Yes. So those follow-up lessons, kind of the same thing. You pick up Bogie. I recommend we have a session there, kind of give you some information before you go home with their system and everything like that. It's just going to be, again, us transferring the obedience to you guys, how the e-collar works, and how to kind of work with Bogie with the remote. So depending on when we do this board and train, we're most likely, since the weather's getting, I think it's more consistent, going to be warmer now. Our follow-up lesson could be at Oz Park. That's where we usually do our in-persons and everything. So if the weather's as working with us, we'll probably be at Oz Park. So that'd be nice, be cool, and do Bogie. Any questions so far about the board and train program?
No, I don't think anything from me. I will say that we'll probably plan on this for next month anyway. So he'll be right at 6 months when you guys probably start.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Dana?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm sure we'll think of something ahead of then, but.
Got it. Okay.
And you'll follow up with us and let us know on ordering the e-collar too.
Yes, if we have any stock or not. Some common questions owners have asked about the e-collar is, you know, when does it come off? When is it on? Is it on all day, or how does that work? So after you do your program, or after Bogie does his program, you do your follow-ups and everything, the e-collar on your walks should always be on. The reason why it's always on is just because we can't predict what's going to happen on this walk, right? So let's say on the 606, he's great, he's doing fantastic, but then one day, because it happened to me, I was walking on the sidewalk and there's these motorcycles passing, but then they turned and came on the sidewalk towards me, and I had both my dogs. I was like, whoa, and I had to pull over, and then it just happened out of nowhere. They just came on the sidewalk. So if something like that suddenly happens, or like maybe you're walking on a busy street and a car crash happens, or someone backfires their car, like a motorcycle just starts, something sudden, or maybe a firework goes off and it's not even the 4th of July and he gets scared, you know, he's going to be, again, a big dog. We've heard stories of like dogs pulling their owners to the ground as they're trying to run away. leashes come out the hands, dogs break collars, all this stuff happens. You have your e-collar there to override Bogie in his flight mode, right? Because when dogs are in flight mode, when they're running for something, running away from something, they're thinking kill or be killed. So the remote there is able to override the brain, stop him in his tracks, and have him do the 180 and come back to you, right? It's not that you're always using it on your walks. You're not always pressing the button. If we're always pressing the button on our walks, then there's something that needs to be changed. We shouldn't be pressing it that much later down the line, right? For like, so my dogs or Jesse's dogs, you'll hear us say that we have it on all the time, but we press the button maybe like twice, 3 times a month, right? It's there just in case something happens. In the home, maybe we find that he's relaxing, he's starting to dial down, and you're just hanging out in the living room, he's hanging out with you. Then there's no reason to have the e-collar on. Let's say you're gonna have guests come over for the evening, like at 5 p.m., right? An hour before, you'd collar him up, address whatever is needing to be addressed, if he's gonna jump on the guest or bark at them, whatever it is. And then if you find that he's settled and he's calm throughout the rest of the stay for the guests, then you can take it off, or you can keep it on just in case he does, maybe they amp him up and he gets excited and starts being mouthy. You have the e-collar there to kind of tone him down or keep him calm. So in short, the e-collar is on when you need it. Again, on your walks, it should always be on just in case something happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Will this then replace the prong? Is there any reason to have that on too? Or, I mean,
you don't need to have the prong. As he gets bigger, you're probably going to want to, if you do keep the prong, you're going to want to upgrade to the 3.0 millimeter Herm Springer, just because he's going to get a bigger neck. The prong for me is more of like, you turn the corner and there's like a dog there. You have immediate control, right? Or maybe you're walking and then maybe he does get flighty. If you have a regular flat collar on and he's already 90 pounds and he's getting scared and he's pulling you, there's not going to be enough consequence on that flat collar to catch him, because sometimes owners can be a little slow with the remote and they can't react quick enough. But if you have your prong collar on, he'll yank you, but then he'll get the correction. So then you have time and you're not getting dragged while you're trying to find your number or like amp it up to have him cut the crap. So just because of his size, I'd recommend still continuing with the prong. Now he's a little smaller, so you can experiment. But from what I've seen with the Shepherds, with the Bully Breeds, the Rotties, the Pitties, the safest kind of setup here would be like having your prong as well, just in case like you're not quick enough for the remote and something suddenly happens. Again, you turn the corner and there's a dog there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes down the line. This is kind of going back to something we talked about earlier about with the fetch and like the simulation. What should we, in the meantime, before his board and train, like what should we be doing with like fetch and stuff to get that mental stimulation, do you think?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways to go about it. What you can start doing is recognizing, so I'll go with the first way, recognizing the balance in Bogie's life with like structure and discipline and freedom. So think of your regular prong collar walk is structure and it's very disciplined because of that versa you have. And then think of the fetch and the toys in the home and the running around as like freedom, right? Jesse has what's called an 80-20 rule. 80% of Bogie's life should be structured and disciplined. So that would be, as we go into the e-collar stuff, that would be your heel. So 80% of your walk should be heel. Then 20% can be ball, or maybe let him sniff on the way home. Mm-hmm. Because whatever Bogie's practicing is what he's going to become. So if you're practicing more, let's say your 80% is actually ball time and fetch and run and have fun. And then 20% is like here and there, you'll do a prong collar walk or just like a regular structured walk. That's why he might be acting this way, because he's so used to just having the freedom, running around, playing the ball, no rules. I'm just having fun. Because it's the same thing of how we like raise children, right? If like, be home whenever you want, and then we don't care. They fail. They do all these things. They skip school. They're going to become a specific person versus you're at home at this time. Oh, you got a bad grade. I'm going to take this away, and then we're kind of giving a lot of structure into the child's lives, and then become a well mannered and disciplined adult. So that's one way, is either having more structure in Bogie's life for now. But if you are going to play ball, maybe like introduce having him on the prong with the leash. Maybe put him into a sit, and you're holding your leash. Throw the ball. He's probably going to go. Boom, he hits the prong collar. He's going to sit back, and he's going to be like, whoa, I didn't like that, because now you're working on impulse control. Now you're teaching him that when you just throw yourself, when a ball is thrown, you're going to get corrected until I say break, or maybe put him in a down and you have your foot on the leash and you just toss it and then break. And then you're adding more rules to the game of fetch. Obviously, it's going to be a little harder with just the prong collar. With the e-collar, it'll be a lot more easier, because then you can introduce like distance. So he can be over there and down, and you walk to him and then you throw the ball, or like, he's coming back to you, you tell him to spit it out in motion, and then you're applying more. It's more easier, right, with this tool.
Okay.
But that's what I would start doing now, and then kind of either finding the balance or start introducing prong collar pressure during your play.
Got it. Cool.
Any other questions?
I'm good, Dana.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm good too. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through everything today.
Of course. So after this consultation, you're going to get a follow-up email from Elizabeth for the Board and Train program. She's going to kind of send you the e-collar I recommend, and she'll let you know if we're in stock or not. You're already steps ahead, so you've already got your shot records in. You're already signed on Ginger. So then it's just going to begin. She's just going to let you know, like, when you can start the billing and booking process, which should be like immediate. And then you'll just give her the dates you're looking for or you're interested in, and having Bogie being dropped off. Just a heads up that Elias is off Sundays and Mondays. So if you're going to drop off Bogie, I don't recommend you dropping him off on a Sunday, because then he's not going to get trained Sunday. He's not going to get trained Monday. Tuesday will be his first day of training. So if possible, either drop him off on Sunday. So then it's just like, not Sunday, drop him off on Monday. So it's just like, one day he's not getting trained, or drop him off on a Tuesday and then he's just trained right away from there. What else?
Cool.
I think I covered everything. If anything pops up, any other questions arise from you guys, feel free to email me, and then I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, just keep an eye out for Elizabeth's email. And then I think that should be all.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for the time.
Of course. Very nice speaking with you. Nice to hear that Bogie's, healthy and back to normal. And I hope that continues for him.
Yeah, cool. All right. Thank you, Enrique.
All righty. Bye, guys.
See ya.